Many students dream of making a career after taking up the KPSC exams. To realize their dreams, many even work really hard. But there are others who choose to take the devious path. And it is not just students, but even KPSC officials who are neck deep in corruption. The CID report, which was submitted to the government, only corroborates this.
It's one of the most prestigious exams. But now, it's one of the most controversial exams. Yes, KPSC exams are indeed very prestigious, and at the same time, it is an accepted fact, it is also one of the most controversial exams as well. The moment the government understood that something had gone terribly wrong in the exams, it immediately ordered a CID probe in the matter. This was on 27th June 2013. And after the CID took up the probe formally, it took around 3 months to complete it and submit the report on September 10, 2013. Let's give you the important points of the report. During the probe, the statements of as many as 215 people were recorded. The call details of 720 mobile numbers and 75 bank accounts, 337 files were examined, and 116 complainants too were questioned. Now let's give you the massive allegations one by one. Dr. Maitri was an aspirant for the post of Assistant Commissioner. She scored 1009 marks in the mains, which was the highest by a candidate under the ST category. But Mangala, one of the members of the KPSC board, sought a humongous sum as bribe from her. In the interview, Dr. Maitri secured only 75 marks, but Supriya Banagar, another aspirant, scored 937 marks and 150 marks in the interview, thus making her secure more marks. Hence, she was the one who was selected. This was the allegation made. During the probe, this is what the CID findings were. Indeed, as per the CID report, Dr. Maitri met Mangala at her chamber. After this, Mangala and her PA repeatedly called up Maitri, and Maitri herself called them both as many as 21 times. The report also says that Dr. Mangala did demand a huge sum as bribe, but Dr. Maitri didn't accede to their demand. So she was awarded fewer marks in the exams. On the other hand, Supriya, who was selected, secured more marks than her. There is one thing we must tell you at this point. As per the rules, neither the KPSC members nor the officials are supposed to meet the candidates. But in this case, Dr. Maitri indeed met Mangala. The calls made between them are also established. That creates a lot of suspicion.
Well, that was about Dr. Maitri and her plight. Now we tell you how interviews were tailored to suit the whims and fancies of several students.
As many as 1,084 candidates were called for interviews for 362 Class 1 and Class 2 posts. But these interviews were hurriedly arranged. And that is because Gonal Bhimappa was retiring on May 10, 2013. This being the case, in spite of the Vidhana Sabha elections, the interviews were held. It was decided that the interviews were to be conducted from April 1st, 2013, but they were postponed in view of the elections. The interviews started after the elections. The timings were from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Every aspirant was interviewed for 15 minutes and the results to be announced the next day. Around 6 KPSC members interviewed the aspirants. In the CID findings, it was found out that the interviews were hurriedly arranged in view of Gonal Bhimappa's retirement. The marks were awarded randomly in the interviews. Shockingly, the same marks were allotted by 4 to 6 KPSC members for every aspirant. More shocking is how the interviews ended in just 2 to 3 minutes instead of the allotted 15 minutes. In all, the interviews were conducted shabbily and hurriedly. Again, we have to tell you something that is all the more appalling. Though the interviews were scheduled to take place at the mentioned timings, they did not. For example, the morning interviews were slated to take place at 9, but the KPSC members used to arrive late. But the marks allotted would be the same. Some of the details that will leave you shocked are that the president of KPSC, Gonal Bhimappa, came 8 days late to the interviews. Another KPSC member, Daya Shankar, came 8 days late to the interviews. Key accused KPSC member Mangala Sridhar came 6 days late to the interviews, as did Kaniram and H.D. Patil, both KPSC members. They came 6 days late to the interviews. KPSC members Krishna Prasad and Mahadev came 5 days late to the interviews. The CID also has details on where actually these men who were to conduct interviews were by tracing the towers. But shockingly, these men have even signed on the relevant sheets saying that they were present at the time of interviews.
So far, we've told you all the irregularities that the KPSC members did, from seeking bribes to not conducting proper interviews. But now we should tell you that KPSC is also a marriage bureau. Confused? Then watch this.
When did KPSC become a marriage bureau? Instead of conducting exams in a sincere and efficient manner, what on earth is happening? It's very difficult to believe or even think, but what the CID report says is something that makes you wonder and even shocked. A KPSC member in fact asked one of the aspirants a favour. This favour is not money, but a request to marry his daughter. Amarnath was known famously as the agent of Gonal Bhimappa. He has a daughter by name Amrita. He got his daughter engaged to Dr. Govardhan Gopal at La Meridian. In fact, Gonal Bhimappa was also present on the occasion. Interestingly, he secured 1027 marks in mains and 150 in the interview. Let's reiterate, a government job was also confirmed and no financial transaction took place. And that's because he was the son-in-law of Amarnath. Gonal Bhimappa permitted this favour. And the story only gets murkier. There are also allegations that many in the KPSC have taken the wrong route to succeed in the exams. Now we give you an example. In the report submitted to the government, the CID has specifically mentioned a case related to one Abhishek Hegde. Abhishek's mom, Srimati Padmarekha, was an assistant secretary in KPSC. Well, there are no prizes for guessing what she did. Of course, she used her influence in getting him prosperous. In the prelims, Abhishek got only 236 marks, or in the words of the CID report, he managed to scrape through. But in the mains, his marks just skyrocketed to 995. And hold on, in the interview, he secured 150 marks. His name also figured prominently in the list of probable candidates. In the meantime, his mother was transferred to another department as her son was writing the exam. Also, there is another startling point that we need to tell you. She had called KPSC member Parshwanath as many as 6 times and her PA Neemraj 23 times. Mangala Sridhar's hubby Sridhar Narayan 3 times and Lakshman, the sub-secretary, 2 times. All these have been exposed in the report. In another incident, the father of Nitin Chakki met one of the workers of Gonal Bhimappa by name Anil at his home. There are further allegations that Gonal was influenced by this worker to make Nitin Chakki succeed in the exam. In the mains, Nitin secured 1067 marks and in the interview, he secured 150 marks. In fact, it is further said that Nitin made calls from his father's cell phone to Anil as many as 20 times. Not just this, he has also made calls to KPSC member H.D. Patil 3 times, KPSC member Dayashankar's PA Raghunath 4 times, and the matter is still under investigation. In all, many officials, members and the president of KPSC are involved in the scam. In the final round of interviews, as many as 1,085 candidates appeared for the interview. Out of these, as many as 39 candidates were in touch with some of these officials over phone for hours at stretch. Many candidates in touch with KPSC over phone. 39 candidates in touch with many KPSC officials. In the final list, 28 names were mentioned. Maximum marks of 150 awarded to 18 people. As a rule, candidates are not supposed to be in contact with these officials, but in this case, as said, As many as 39 were in touch.
From personal favors, let's move on to one more area of corruption. This time it is the re-evaluation and retotaling process. So what exactly happened here?
Well, to pass exams conducted by the KPSC is in itself a Herculean task. Sincere candidates spend hours and even days preparing for the exam. They seek expert guidance to perform well in the exams. But the sad story is, there are others who take the devious path to emerge successful. And this is precisely what happened in the 2011 KPSC exams. When the exams were announced, as many as 1,38,000 applied for it. In the prelim stage, 91,367 candidates appeared, and only 7,188 candidates graduated to the other rounds. And among the ones who appeared in the final round, 929 applied for retotaling. Well, applying for retotaling is a legal process. But what happened during the retotaling process or in the retotaling process? The marks of as many as 320 candidates were increased among the 929 that applied. The marks of 553 candidates remained the same. Interestingly, 30 candidates who applied for retotaling were employees of KPSC. Generally, when retotaling happens, marks are not increased, and if there is an increase, it is only by a minute margin. But in the case of 2011 exams, the difference in marks was humongous. You may find it difficult to believe, but 24 candidates got an increase of 10 marks, 9 got an increase of 20 marks, 11 got an increase of 30 marks, 3 got an increase of 40 marks, 3 more got an increase of 50 marks, and 1 even got an increase of 84 marks. And there's more. A candidate by name Vasudev first scored 977 marks. After retotaling, he got 986 marks. When the phone call details were studied, it came to be known that he was in touch with Gopi Krishna, Gunal Bhimapa's PA. Another candidate by name Gopal had secured 892 marks. His marks got an increase of 3. He was in touch with Kaniram, one of the members. In fact, he made 8 calls to him while Kaniram made 6 calls to him. And coming to evaluation answer scripts, marks have been awarded randomly to students. And well, students were in touch with the evaluators. When the geography script of Chidambara, a student was being evaluated by Hemachandra, he was in touch with him. He had called him as many as 35 times. Not just this, he was also in touch with Amarnath, Gonal's assistant. The CID report had cornered the KPSC, but it would not be wise to jump to the conclusion or surmise that the entire set of students who appeared for the exams are fraudulent. It is only a few who have brought ill repute with collusion with the officials. But as they say, one rotten apple has the ability to spoil other apples as well. Here, in this case, the audacity of a few students has put the futures of sincere students in jeopardy. That is indeed regretful. Kiran for News 9.
Moving on, today is marked as the World Organ Donation Day, and Bengalurians did not shy away from coming forward to pledge their organs. Here is how it went. Take a look. We have always known that organ donation can be life-saving. More than 500,000 Indians are estimated to be in dire need of an organ transplant, kidney, liver, heart, pancreas and so on. But yet, most of us hesitate. But this time, it looks like Bengalurians took it up quite seriously. The who's who of Bengaluru came forward today to pledge their organ at an event organized by an organization called Gift Your Organ.
Gift Your Organ is a special cause, and because we see right now there are very few people who are coming forward to donate. I think we have to do it because we are all fit and fine. You can give a life to somebody else. It's not your entire life you're giving, but certain parts of your body which which they can use it. And there are people who are born with disorders, and there are few people who lose it in between. Maybe it's an accident or some other incidents. So if we can help out them, I think that is the biggest sacrifice that you can do, and it's a nice feeling, It's like you're giving another life to someone else, and I think that's the wonderful contribution that you can do.
Over 100 Bengalurians, including many celebrities as well as the Additional Commissioner Law and Order Alok Kumar, came forward to pledge their organ in an attempt to save people in need.
Organ Donors Day, and we are trying our best to create awareness on organ donation. We want more and more people to pledge their organ. Our vision is no death in our country for want of organ. There should not be any death where people are wanting any kidney, liver, heart, pancreas. For anything, for want of organ, there should not be any death.
Less than 1,000 transplants are performed each year. The rest usually die waiting for an organ as there aren't enough donors. So on this day, will you too pledge to donate an organ? Nabila for News 9.